It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome to the Jill on Money Show. This is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. We do that by actually helping you better manage the competing goals and objectives for your own life. You know, one day you might say, it's really important for me to have a second home. The next day you might say, wait, we're pregnant. Maybe it's important for us to actually fund college education. Or maybe one day you think, I want to retire early. And the next day you think, nah, I just want to work longer but fewer hours in every single week. Whatever the issue is that's going on for you, we'd love to help you out. Both Mark and I are certified financial planners, and we love talking to you about your life. So if you've got a question, something is going on, go to our website, jillonmoney.com. Click the Contact Us button and write us a note. That's the email that we receive. If you would like to join us on the air live, just check that box and Mark will do everything else. In fact, that is what Michael did, so let's get started with him. He's on the line from the Midwest. Michael, what's going on? How can we help you out?
Yeah, so like a lot of people, I think I'm trajectorying upwards, in terms of annual revenues and things like that. And along the way, I became an entrepreneur as well. And I'm just kind of at that crossroads between income, age, and some things that are happening in life. I want to make sure I go the right direction, that I don't, avoid some pitfalls and make sure I don't lose money that I shouldn't lose in terms of like handing more to taxes, lawful tax avoidance, things like that.
Lawful. I like lawful. We just, we like to say, we like to be smart with tax strategies. That's why we don't like the word avoidance. Michael, how old are you?
I'm 46.
And you're married?
I am not married.
Oh, did you say you had kids?
I have 3 kids, yeah.
3 kids, not married?
I was married for a while, but I got 3 beautiful children, and they're all young adults at this point.
Oh, my gosh. How old are they?
I have 27, 19, and 18.
Okay. Do you support 19 and 18? Or is that part of your cash flow needs?
Yeah, I don't know that they ever are truly out of the picture at that age. So thankfully the 19 is joined the military and doing his own path, which is going great. Mm-hmm. The 27 is actually the full-time manager operator of one of my businesses I opened.
Oh.
And then my 18-year-old, my baby girl, she is debating on college or military today. Literally, she's going through MEPS for the military today to decide.
Oh, my God. So is that worrisome for you? Like, how do you feel about that?
It's not bothering me too much. Like, if they feel the passion and the call to serve in that capacity, then I'll encourage it. Everybody gets a little nervous. Obviously, you don't want your baby to get hurt or be in harm's way. But
yes.
but I appreciate the desire to go to that calling or to serve.
Oh my God, you're so good. I'd be like, no way, you're not going. I'm sorry, but I'm a nervous Nelly. So, Michael, you're an entrepreneur. So, is this in addition to a full-time gig, or is this now you've gone solo into the entrepreneurship? Yeah.
So to walk through that, I've been in the public service sector for 25 years. I'm a supervisor in that world, and still continue to do that full-time job to this day.
How much do you earn there?
This year should be about $120K.
Okay. So you do that full-time, and the public service, that I imagine that means you have a pension that will be coming floating into your life?
Yes. Thankfully, we have what's called a defined benefit pension. Mm-hmm. Basically, if you go 22 years, you earn 66% of your top 3 years, and then for every year after that, you max out at 30 years, you earn 82%.
And how long have you been in?
25 years.
Is your goal to give your notice at the end of this year, or do you want to what do you think?
Yeah, I think realistically I'm somewhere in the 1 to 3 year timeline.
And so you will receive, let's just say 66 or 70% of your final of this 120-ish.
Well, that would give me I would only be 4% short, so I'd get 78%.
78% of
my top 3 year average.
Oh my God. That's amazing, isn't it? I mean, I know you've earned it. You've worked hard and you've been in the system, but that's pretty amazing. Tell me more about what you like, the entrepreneurship. Like, how are you managing that business? Are you taking a salary from that right now? Because right now whatever, in 1 or 3 years, you're going to have like $100,000 a year in your defined benefit. But what else are you earning?
Yeah. So basically about 8 years ago, I started buying, like a lot of people, buying a few rental houses and things, trying to get involved in real estate and some, appreciable assets over time. And I don't know if it was my wise choices or dumb luck, but along the way, I was pretty successful at it. So as I started to buy real estate, obviously at some point, I started to think, hey, real estate is awesome as long as you hold on to those assets for 30 years. You buy, let's say, a nice $200,000 house here, and you hold on to it for 20 years. Yeah, it might be a $500,000 house, but it takes 20 years.
Right.
It takes a long time.
Right.
So I kind of shifted my thinking a little bit. I started selling some of the properties, and I invested in an existing franchise business that was here in town that was open.
Cool.
It had been open for 11 years. The owners were fairly absent, so I saw some value add. I bought that business, and I now am happy to say that the business is in the top 5 of the franchise company.
Wow.
For gross. So let's say the last year and this year, so I've owned it going on 3 years now. Last year netted about $95K. This year is probably going to be about $125K. And again, I'm at that point where that counts towards, my AGI and things like that. So one, I start to worry about, hey, how do I keep some of this money? How do I not give it back?
Yeah.
And then while doing that, I owned an apartment building, and I wasn't trying to sell it. And a buyer came knocking on the door and said, hey, I want to buy your building. So I also got to dive into like the 1031 like in kind exchange game, So I ended up buying a bigger commercial building, and then I remodeled that building and turned that into a business. So now I have another business over there that last year did about 70 net. This year should be about 110.
When you say net to you or net to the business, because I know that you said that you have a son who's in business with you.
Yeah,
so that's
the 70 would have been to me as in income I'd have to claim.
Got it.
That I could take home. Yep.
I got you. Now all of a sudden you're making a ton of money. You got 125 from the franchise, 110 from this other business, plus your salary of 120, which is going up to 128. So this is all a lot of money. What are you doing awash in your cash?
Hold on, it gets better. So in about 2 weeks, I'm supposed to close on another business I'm buying from another guy.
Yeah.
And the last 3 years, that business has grossed about $400K and netted him about $90K.
All right. So this is third business number 3.
Yeah.
These are unrelated to one another?
100%.
Okay, interesting. We'll get back to Michael in just a moment. If you have a question, just go to JillOnMoney.com and click the Contact Us button. While you're there, don't forget to sign up for the free weekly newsletter. It comes out every Friday. Jill on Money. We'll be right back.
Back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger helps you take the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. This is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. We do that by asking you to send us your questions. Just go to JillOnMoney.com and click the Contact Us button. While you're there, you might want to check out our subscription service. It's called Jill on Money Live. For $35 for the next 12 months, you will be able to participate in 4 quarterly webinars, and you'll be able to check out the webinars we've already conducted, as well as other videos that live behind that very, very low paywall. All right, Jill on Money Live. Right now, we're getting back to Michael, who's on the line from the Midwest. That's a lot. I mean, you got to get out of public service. I'm sorry to lose you, but that's a lot to manage.
Well, at some point it does. As you know, your business only runs as good as the people with you. So
yes,
having some awesome people makes life a lot easier. So so far, I do put in a lot of work and time to keep them afloat, but I'm not overwhelmed.
Okay.
But I also am starting to now run into other problems, as people with more money than me say, more money, more problems. At some
I like
point,
those. But by the way, I love those problems. Thank you.
So at some point, like, oh, shoot, do I start phasing out of my ability to Roth? Do I start phasing out of, like, am I stuck throwing all this into brokerage accounts? Or can I,
Well,
that's kind of why I wanted to reach out to you.
I totally get it. This is fascinating because, I mean, there is a lot of money and you're single. So, there's not a lot of, you don't have a ton of deductions. So let's just go through a couple of other things, Michael. So right now you've got the 3 businesses, got those. And those, let's just say together, those are going to net you. I'm going to make it up. 300, let's say 350. We're going to talk about next year mostly because now you're already screwed from this year because you got your current income, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So let's say that you're going to sort of say net to Michael is 350. And that, that puts you in the 35% tax bracket. So you're up there, man. So my question to you is this. Do you own a home, like a personal primary residence? I presume yes, right?
I do. It has some mortgage debt, but I do own a home, yes.
How much is it worth?
Right now, probably about $485.
Okay. And what's the mortgage that remains on that, Michael?
Probably about $180.
Okay. What's the interest rate?
2 3/4.
Great. And so you've done most of your saving. You have your defined benefit. Do you also have a defined contribution plan through public service? Do you have like a 457 plan?
I have a 457B, which would be the governmental version of that. So has its own nice benefits as well. But I have basically only done the company match in that. So right now there's basically $100K in there.
Okay. And what other savings have you used so far?
Savings that I have on hand or that I've been...
let's not. I'm not going to talk about the real estate for a second, but let's just talk about like savings and investment. Do you have a brokerage account?
I do not have a current brokerage account.
Okay. And what about just borrowing money in the bank?
Probably $300K.
Okay. And if you tallied up, I mean, because so it's not just the franchise or the business, but you own real estate. Can you give me a sense of the value of all that real estate that you have right now? Not including your primary, but like the stuff for the businesses.
Yeah, not counting personal residence.
Yes,
exactly. Probably about $1.1 million.
Okay. With mortgages or no mortgages on those?
There's some mortgages, yes.
Like, again, guesstimate, because we're not selling these properties.
I would say it's a little over half of that value.
Okay. So, all right. So we'll say like 600-ish.
Yep.
Okay.
And then the businesses themselves also have business value in terms of like if I were to sell them.
Sure. What do you think that is? And be conservative because you're not selling
100% conservative. I would say the one that has real estate and business is probably $600K. And the one that's the franchise that leases its space is probably around $300 to $350K. Okay.
And this newest one, business number 3?
Again, that'll be on a leased space. Okay. So probably a value of about $175.
So we'll say like you got like 1.1 million of business valuation, basically, right?
Yeah, probably in that range.
Okay, great. Here's an interesting question for you. You have all this cash flow. Is that why the $300,000 has been accumulating in the bank?
Well, and I would say some of that is just my conservative mindset. Like I don't run out and buy the newest car and that. So I just tend to be a saver, but I'm trying to loosen those strings a little and not be such a hardcore saver. You know what I mean?
Yep. Well, the interesting thing is, so each business operates separately, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the question I have is whether we put in a solo 401k. I mean, you have employees in each of these places, right? So we're going to have to, it wouldn't be a solo. You have to actually put in a retirement plan for everyone. Have you thought about that yet or not, Michael?
Well, it's part of the reason I reached out to you initially here is because, so let's say the 457B that I have that I've only taken the, 2.5-3% match over the years. Obviously I could max that out. So I'm only putting in $300 a month right now, or $300 bucks
Sure.
every biweekly check.
Yeah. Yep.
I could max that out, and that's tax deferred and tax advantaged. And the beauty of being a 457B and governmental is there's also no penalty if I draw prior to 59.5 because it's termination of employment.
Yeah, although you're never going to need to pull that out.
Yeah, so I'm just saying I could max that out, but what I think that's capped at 23,000.
Yeah, it's 23 this year, and you're not, unfortunate. I mean, happily for you, you're not 50. But the other thing is, I think that along with that, I think that the question becomes, should you be putting in some sort of other retirement plan? Because the other thing about the 457B is that you can put it in and it can run concurrent with another plan. Now, you have to talk to somebody. You really have to talk to a CPA about this. I think that you can. I'm not 100% sure. You have to check this. But I think you can put up a total of like $69,000 into a SEP. But how many employees do you have?
Let's see, the franchise business, I average between 7 to 12 employees, counting, for total staff. And then the business that my son runs, we're slower in the summer. It's semi-seasonal. So in the winter, we swell to 8 to 10 people. And in the summer, we're down to probably 4.
But are those full-time employees usually?
I would say I have 3 full-time and a bunch of part-time.
Okay. And the one you just bought, business number 3?
That'll have probably 3 to 4, with 2 of them being full-time.
I think you got to talk to somebody. I think you have to talk to somebody about the way we can install a separate retirement plan that runs alongside your public. And by the way, you should be thinking about leaving this public service sooner rather than later. This is a lot this is a lot to run. Also working full time. It really is.
Yeah,
and then,
it is.
And I think that what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to talk to somebody who will help you establish a retirement plan. Now, do you work with a CPA? Because you got a wacko tax situation right now.
I do work with a CPA, and I will tell you this. I don't know if this throws a wrinkle into that SEP plan or not. Last year, that CPA recommended that I incorporate to save the 15.3% self-employment tax I was getting hit with.
Did you get is it a C Corp or is it an S Corp or an LLC?
I opened an S Corp, so all my business LLCs are under that S Corp.
Oh, okay. No, I don't think that does anything to this. This is what you should talk to the CPA about is if you have this corporation, should you put in a 401k plan? The 401k would be for your benefit, but also for the employee's benefit. And it's a nice thing to do when your kid's working there. So you want to give the kid a way to sock some money away. There's more with Michael in just a moment. If you've got a question, go to JillOnMoney.com. And when you're there, in the upper right-hand corner, you click the Contact Us button. You write your note. That's the email that we receive. And if you'd like to join us on the air live, just check that box. While you're on the website, for once and for all, please sign up for the free weekly newsletter. It comes out every Friday. You can't afford to miss this. All right, I'm just kidding. I know it's free, but it is chock full of really good information every single week. You can also subscribe to our service called Jill on Money Live. For $35, you'll have access to quarterly live webinars. So check it out. It's just $35. So let's not go crazy. It's the Jill on Money Show. We'll be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. Let's wrap up our conversation with Michael. So what I would do is I would talk to the CPA and say, I think I want to open my own retirement plan. Now, maybe you don't do it this second while you're still working. It's okay. Either way, it's fine. But I think you should start talking about what is the best way to do that? And the thing is, it's kind of sucky because you have to hire like a company to help you manage it. But you should talk to the CPA and say, should I do a 401k? Should I do a SEP IRA? Should I do a simple IRA? And ask about like what that they think is the best way for you to establish a plan for yourself and your employees? That's number one. I think that would be my first question. And, for now, yeah, you can put more money into the 457B. It's fine. You could max that out. It's fine. You're going to have tons of cash flow. But I do think that if you have another plan in place, you'll be able to run on sort of like, think of that as two separate parts of your life, employee and owner, right? As owner of this company, I'll be able to make other contributions, and someone needs to test this, but I think it's important. And then what you have to do is capture all this cash flow and start building a brokerage account. So the CPA is a good guy? Like, you like him?
Yeah. He's very, I would say, like-minded in terms of wanting to build and maintain wealth. So
right, and also like by the book, no shenanigans, right?
100%. That's
okay,
why
good.
I use the term lawful tax avoidance.
Yeah, I hear you.
Trying to find tax advantage ways to keep more money, I guess.
Yeah. So I think the other thing that you should do is talk to him about how you might be able to work with, maybe, I don't know if you want this or not, but maybe you need to talk to a financial advisor. Maybe you need a certified financial planner or someone who can help you capture all this money, put it into a brokerage account, put it into another retirement account, and make sure that all of this cash flow is not just like kind of sitting in a savings account. We want to make sure you capture it, right?
Yeah, that's 100%. Like the 401k idea in the next year or so sounds awesome. I think that's the other main question I had was, all right, I'm cash heavy right now as well. Is there anything I should be doing opportunity cost wise, or just in terms of dead money sitting there? You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be a better plan.
How much money do you really like to have on hand? Because you're running 3 businesses. I presume you have 3 business accounts, right? 3 different business accounts.
The one has probably 150 cash in the bank. The other one has probably 80 cash in the bank, and then the rest is in like personal accounts.
Okay. Well, I mean, first of all, you have to figure out how much cash you need to have on hand for each of these businesses. If it is like, do I really need to keep it in a bank? Should I be running my cash management through an investment company? And I'm just going to throw names out there. Like, should I be having an account at E-Trade? Should I be having an account at Fidelity or Vanguard and run my business accounts off that with check writing? Or do I need a bank? Or should I talk to the bank about keeping a certain amount of money in there and then buying a couple CDs as just a little background, like, I need a little something here. But I think that cash management is one issue. The second issue is, how do I start funding retirement? And the third would be, once you figure out how much money you really need versus what you, like on hand, whatever you don't need, we would open a brokerage account. And that brokerage account would be very boring. Your life is incredibly complicated in some respects. Like, the complexity of owning 3 different businesses is a lot, plus being an employee. So it would be very boring. I like some money in a stock index fund, some money in a bond index fund, and some money in an international fund, like not going crazy. But this is why I think you also, because of the complexity of your life, this is why I think you might want to seek having a planner in your life. I think this could be the kind of person you can grow with. And it's really interesting. And look, it may be that, if you say to your CPA, hey, I need to work with someone to help me like really manage this money. Now, the CPA might say, I can help you do that, but don't do that necessarily. Build your team out. So say, I really want someone who does this for a living, the actual planning part, a certified financial planner, or, someone who's like National Association of Personal Financial Advisors, someone who can really hold your hand and also be there with you as you grow. This is going to be, I think you're going to have a lot of money on hand. I really do. Just like these are cash flow positive businesses that are really clicking along. And these are the kinds of businesses that can help you fund a lot. Now, of course, you're always going to be in a crapo tax bracket, right? Because you're going to have your defined benefit plan and all this income. So we want to make sure that you're working with someone who can help you really think about, what is my tax position? What is the best way forward? Because it sounds like you like what you do. Like, this is going to be a whole second life for you. You're going to put your 25 or 28 years in. Amazing. But then, you know what? Like, you're always going to have money now, which, I mean, it's a good problem to have, right?
Yeah. I'd like to play Monopoly someday. Someday I want to trade all these little businesses off for the largest, biggest semi-passive, commercial property, something I can maybe not be so hands-on and as I go into retirement.
Dude, you won't even need that. You could put all this money, you could sell all your businesses and get all your money and be like, I've got $12 million. We just had a guy who's like, I have $8 million sitting around invested, and that will spin off a ton of money for you. So I think we need to get you a little bit more focused. Oh, one last thing before I let you go. You need estate planning for real, because when you are a small business owner, it is incumbent upon you to make sure that you have an idea of like what happens if you drop dead tomorrow. Is the 18-year-old and the 19-year-old who are in the military, what are they going to do? What's the 27-year-old? Can they really do? Like, you're going to have to really be thoughtful about that.
Yeah, 100%. I have, again, as some of the success happens, it happens quickly, and suddenly you go from 9 to 5 guy to what do I do with all this? So ultimately I have some personal estate planning, but yeah, and when it comes to the businesses and that, it's not as well or comprehensive as it should be.
All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to get focused. You're going to get your team together. So we need your CPA on board with a CFP or some sort of advisor who's a fiduciary and an estate lawyer. That's your team. Build out your team. If you've got a question, all you need to do is go to the website, JillOnMoney.com, and click the Contact Us button. It's the Jill on Money Show, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger takes the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. We are trying to help you make better or less bad financial decisions. We do that by encouraging you to reach out to us. You can go to JillOnMoney.com and click the Contact Us button. When you write your note, give us a lot of detail, especially if you're shy and you don't want to come on the air. I know it's hard for you shy people. I get it. While you're on the website, check out all the content that lives there. We've got the free weekly newsletter. We've got resources. We've got 2 podcasts, which you can subscribe to right on the front door of our website. You know what else is free? Our YouTube show, which is called Jill on Money, powered by the Compound. And for those of you who like investing and want to take a deeper dive, there's a lot of great content over at the Compound. You'll see it all there. Click on the link, Jill on Money, powered by the Compound. You'll see all the other shows that the Compound does actually provide for you. So I love those guys. I think they're so helpful, especially if you have a little investment itch. I know you want to scratch it, so scratch it with them because they're really smart and they'll make sure that you don't do something dopey, okay? Right now, let's take an email. This is from Jack. I've currently been with a financial advisor for 3 years, which included a thorough assessment of my situation at the time and future planning for retirement and college. This led me to turn over the management of my IRA and the small brokerage account for roughly a 1% fee. Okay, that's pretty reasonable. The planning and advising was good, but the IRA lost roughly $30,000 to $40,000 in 2021, probably because of the times. It has since mainly recovered to the roughly $190,000 it once started at. The brokerage also lost a little bit of money from the starting point. It's gained back some, has never gotten past the starting point. It just feels like I'm spinning my wheels a little here. After listening to your show for a while now, I feel like it may be time for me to roll the IRA somewhere else with lower fees. I have a company 401k through Empowerment. That's that firm keeps coming up, Mark, that's doing well. Is it possible to roll my current IRA into the active 401k account? There's currently about $200,000 there. And then maybe find a new home for the brokerage account. Maybe I would invest in low-cost index funds or maybe a robo-advisor. This will be of interest to me next year as I'll be looking to invest a new bonus that I should be receiving. My emergency fund is in good shape, 6+ months of savings on hand. I'm 41 and also have about $73,000 in 529s saved up for 2 kids, with one of them about to start high school, the other still in elementary school. Can you please let me know if you think I should start to shop elsewhere, and thoughts on how to break up with an advisor, and advice of what to do with the IRA and brokerage? Many thanks for making my commutes to work educational each day. Okay, Jack, here we go. Here's what I think. I love the idea of rolling the IRA into the 401k. It is kind of interesting because it has to do, it will encompass some work. So what I would do is I would go to your current active 401k plan, and that's Empower. And what I think you should do is you should say to them, I have this IRA. Is it possible for me to roll it into the current 401k account? They'll let you know that. You'll have to show them the statement. You'll have to do a little work. But I love the idea of consolidating, which is it just makes it easier. So it's not so much, honestly. I think that what's interesting here is that it sounds like you did a really good job of going through this process with this person who's helped you out. And maybe this person was a better financial planner than someone who really should be doing the asset allocation. And if they're not, and maybe if you're not even that interested in like ongoing financial planning, there are cheaper ways to do this. Now I feel bad because now I feel a little bit bad for the advisor, but let's just go with what I think you should be considering. So number one is you could hopefully roll the money that is in the IRA into your current 401k. In terms of a brokerage account, it depends like how much work you want to do. So if you want to pay the lowest amount of money, then you would choose your own index funds, go for it, and, pick some company that makes sense for you. In other words, like when I talk about this, gang, I always think that people are like, well, but where? I'm sort of agnostic. I really am. I think that there's plenty of great places to buy index funds, whether it's Fidelity or Schwab or Vanguard or T. Rowe Price or E-Trade, wherever you can buy cheap index funds. They're really, those kinds of companies are going to give you the best bang for your buck. But it's up to you to figure out which one makes sense. When it comes to a robo, it can be Schwab or Vanguard or Betterment or Fidelity. Same thing. You're going to pay a little bit more, but it'll be like 1/4 of a percentage point. But I guess the other piece is that, are you sure you don't need the planning anymore? If you don't need the planning, then okay, you can do this. But if you think, at this point you got your hands around it, it's cool, you're kind of on autopilot, then sure, I would save the 1% fee. Once you have all this information, once you start the process of like moving money out, what I would say is the way to break up with an advisor is to begin moving the assets. Don't wait. Okay? Because once you make this call or write this letter, they're going to get in touch with you and they're going to try to save the account. And it can be hard to kind of stick to your guns. So you can just write a nice letter and say, thank you so much. I've decided to do it myself. You've been wonderful, and goodbye. That's what I would do. All right, man. That's how it's tough business. It's a tough business. I get it. I'm sorry that the advisor's going to lose the business, but 1% is not that much for 190 grand, but it's not quite as cheap as 0 or 1/4%. If you have a question, just go to JillOnMoney.com and click the Contact Us button. The Jill on Money Show will be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are here answering your financial questions. We do that by having you go to our website, JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button, write down your note, and if you'd like to join us live, just check that box and Mark will do everything else. But we also love to read your emails, and this one is from Andrew, who writes, what is your opinion on CDs versus fixed indexed annuities? I'm comfortable with CDs, but I really don't know anything about fixed index annuities. It sounds like the return rates can be a lot higher on the fixed index annuities, like 200 to 300 basis points higher on annual returns. Let me just translate Andrew's question for a moment, because 200 to 300 basis points means 2 to 3% higher annually. And Andrew, this is a really good question. It's not exactly the same. It's sort of conceptually sold as the same thing, but it really is not. And a CD does have a penalty if you want to liquidate early. But when you're purchasing an insurance company product like a fixed index annuity, the price of being wrong about needing your money is pretty high. Most fixed index annuities have something called a surrender charge, and it's a sliding scale. It usually starts pretty high. In other words, if you were to break this contract, say within the first year, you might pay a 10% penalty, and then it slides down every year until you're at 0%. So that's the first big difference. The other difference when it comes to fees is that fixed index annuities also have annual fees. So these can be very expensive products to buy from the insurance company. And finally, what I will say is that unlike a CD, fixed index annuities usually also have some sort of component that's linked to a stock index. That's the index part. But we'd have to look at exactly what someone is trying to sell you in order to really give you the right comparison. I hope that helps. We have more ahead in the program. It's the Jill on Money Show. JillOnMoney.com is our website. We'll be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome back. It's the Jill on Money Show. We are taking the mystery out of your financial life. Right now, let's talk to Lynn and Emily from Vermont. Hello, Lynn and Emily. Welcome to the program. How are you?
Hello. We're good. Now we just have to figure out how not to talk at the same time.
Right. It happens. It happens. All right. I'll start by asking. I'll just start. Lynn.
Yes.
Hi. How are you?
Hi. I'm great.
Excellent.
I'm great.
Emily, how are you?
Terrific. This is a great chance to be part of your program. Thank
you. We're so happy you're with us. So tell us what's going on. One of you become the storyteller first.
Well, Emily is usually the one that does most of the talking, but okay. I think, to be clear, I'm the older one, and part of our issues are going to revolve around the age difference, retirement, and all of that.
Okay. So Emily, how old are you?
So that's a good question. I am 60.
You're 60. And what's the age difference?
I'm 75.
Okay. That's a significant age difference.
It is significant, yes.
All right. How long have you guys been together?
30-something years.
So it's sticking. You think this will stick?
Yeah, I think we're...
Yeah. I think so.
All right, good.
Yeah.
So are you both retired? Are you thinking about retirement? Like,
okay,
what's the issue
all
here?
Right. We both retired. I retired when I was 54 from full-time work.
Okay.
Emily also retired when she was 54 from full-time work. We both continue to work part-time in several jobs.
Mm-hmm.
We work at the elementary school, which we love, which is why we're still there.
Oh, that's so great.
Yes. And that's only supposed to be 1 day a week. Currently, it's 2 days a week because we're covering for someone else that's not there right now.
Uh-huh.
And we also teach online at Community College of Vermont, which we've been doing for 25 years.
Wow. So if you're just looking at the 2 days a week and the teaching online income, how much is that?
Well, let's see. I brought in about 30,000 this year just from my online teaching. And about 15 when I'm working 1 day a week. I can't figure out what the 2 days is because it's only been for several months.
Okay.
Yeah,
Emily's-
and just so you know, when we did the full-time work, both of us are school counselors, but music is my passion. So right now I'm a music teacher at the elementary school. And that's what I teach online also is music, and I have private students. So music is a big deal to me, but it also means that my income varies. Once in a while I have some gigs. I have income from private students, but I only have a few by choice. And right now I'm doing 2 days at the elementary school, but that could change back to one again. So if I decide to make a guesstimate, I would say that for my online classes, I have about half as many as Lynn.
Okay.
Throughout the year, so I might make up to 12 or 13,000 a year.
Okay.
Teaching online, and I'm going to guess that this past school year with the teaching the music a couple of days a week, if I have to make a guesstimate, I'd probably say it'd be about 6,000.
But I presume since you both retired from a job at 54, you both have pensions as well. So how much is each of the pension?
But it's skimpy from this.
It's very skimpy.
We worked a lot of years.
Okay.
And my teacher retirement is around 25,000 a year.
Okay.
And I was like 46 what I was making when I left. So that's about what I get. And Emily went earlier, even though she worked for like 25 years. She's only getting a pittance.
Well, the way it worked, we went into it eyes wide open. They changed some things in our retirement system here. And so it went from what could be good if you were close to 30 years. They said, we're going to increase that to 37 years. And I decided that I didn't want to wait until Lynn was in her 80s for us to have an extra cup of coffee in the morning.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I went into it eyes wide open, and I love teaching music. One of those things where, do something you love and you don't work a day. So I have the music income and a lot of positive energy around that still.
So how much is your pension?
So my pension is $11,000.
Okay. So just want to make sure I got this. So 36,000 in pensions for each of you. Are you guys married or partnered? Yes. In other words,
We're married. We got married 3 times.
We love that question.
That's plenty.
Married in the state, married in the feds.
Right. So does that mean that, for example, if one of you passes away, you're the successor to your spouse's pension? Do you have that choice or not?
Well, we didn't
do that because we had other money.
And they got too much.
Okay. So 36 in pensions, then 30 online and 15 in 2 days, and then 12 online and 6,000 couple days. So it's a lot of income. What is the amount of money that you need to have coming in to cover your expenses? And not just like, this is what it costs in property taxes, but like, what do you really want to spend on a monthly or annual basis?
We've never actually done a budget type of thing.
Me neither, but just because I think they're horrible.
We both had enough money to just say, well, just put it in the bank. So we saved a lot of money to run the place. I think we own the house. We have since paid it off in 7 years when we bought it 30 some years ago. So running the house, I figure, is around $10,000 a year, not counting the extra stuff we put into the house. Like when things go and you never know. So that's called that.
So that's, but like, what do you need to, like on a monthly basis? You got to eat, you got to heat, you got to do this. So do you have an idea? Like, do you think that is 3,000 a month, 4,000 a month, 5,000 a month? What do you think?
We should think about, our Discover card that we use for groceries and gas. And then also think about, heating the house in the winter and stuff like that. So we could probably say like 2,500 would be, 2,500 a month.
I'm going to say 3.
For the
heck of it.
Would cover it and then some,
All right. So if you had $3,000 a month, in other words, if you just had to live on your pensions, it would mostly cover your needs. Mostly. Right. Okay, because you have to pay tax on the pension, right?
Yeah.
All right. So all right. So how much is this house worth, by the way?
The house? I would say probably $350.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. And you said you have a bunch of money in savings. How much is that?
Well, we just some of our certificates of deposit became due, so we have I have a $100,000 one and a $90,000 CD, and then you got a $25 one.
$25,000.
This is like in the local bank, so that we can get it if we need it right away.
Sure.
And then we have IRAs together.
Okay, and how much is in the IRA?
You're up to about 800 and something.
Now, my question to you is, of the 800,000 in 403Bs, it's mostly pre-tax, right?
When we put it in, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay. And so dare I ask this silly question? You ready? You ready for the big question? Either one of you, what's the problem? There is no problem, obviously. I mean, you got boatloads of money.
Mm-hmm.
The money that you're making, it just kind of piles up, obviously, with the CDs. And, you don't have to. I mean, I wouldn't put more money away into IRAs, but do you guys have kids?
We don't have any kids.
Okay.
No.
So no kids. And do you have siblings, family members you have to take care of? Any dependents? No dependents.
My mom just passed away in October, but we're dealing with the house thing right now, which is in New Jersey, by the way.
Oh, pain in the neck.
Such fun. Anyway, there's nothing yanking on our money right now.
Okay, so here's my next question to you. Why'd you give us a holler? You guys are you're in amazing shape. So what is it?
We're always nervous about spending the money.
We'll get back to Lynn and Emily in just a moment. It's the Jill on Money Show, JillOnMoney.com.
Back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger helps you take the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. If you've got a question, just go to JillOnMoney.com and click the Contact Us button. Let's get back to Lynn and Emily from Vermont. Are you guys charitable in some way? Like, do you feel like okay?
Yeah. Yep.
Because I don't know if your financial advisor has talked about this, but maybe instead of taking your required minimum distribution, which do you know about how much that is every year?
Yeah, it starts out being about 11,000, but ends up being about 8.
Okay.
The tax.
Okay, but let's say it's $11,000. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, since you don't need this, one thing that you could do is you could say, you know what we're going to do is when I have a required minimum distribution, I am going to take that money from, and some of it is in an IRA, or is it all 403B still?
Mostly
403Bs.
We'd have to make a little shift in this. You may want to roll over some of it into an IRA. The reason why is that with an IRA, you can make a qualified charitable distribution from an IRA account, and you could just send that off to the charity directly. So you might say, I'll tell you how it would work. How much money do you have, like, in your name, since your required minimum distributions have started? Like, how much money is totally in your name that is subject to the required minimum distributions? Because you gave me the total for both of you, but how much is in your name?
It's mine. Mine's 371. We just
Okay.
got a thing.
Okay, so let's just, I'll tell you how this could work. You say to financial advisor, hey, you know what we want to do? We want to move some of our 403B money. We're going to put money into an IRA. The way it would work is that you'd have an IRA account, which is, let's just call it 370 grand. Okay. Mm-hmm. You don't need the $11,000 that comes out. So when all those people who ask for money and you're awfully charitable and they come around, you do it once a year. And you say, you know what, I'm going to send these however many charities. Let's pretend it's, 3 or 4 charities. And you can send each of them money directly from your IRA to them as a qualified charitable distribution. And that's what you give in charitable money. The reason why that makes a lot of sense, because insight for you guys, is that the $11,000 that you're taxed on bypasses you. It goes straight to the charities. And you just go straight and say, like, okay, this much is going to the ASPCA. This is going to breast cancer research. This is going to this. And you divvy it up, and that's it. And that's how you do charitable giving. And that actually limits the amount of money that is taxable to you, especially because, by the way, you guys have taxable income with all this other online and teaching income. So that's a possibility right there. Now, I want to get back to the financial advisor. What does this person do for you?
Well, this person meets with us whenever we call him. He'll come over. He's not far away. He's in the Burlington area, but I've had him since before I met Emily. Yeah. And so we just started doing all of our savings with him. Mm-hmm. And
so what is he, but how do you pay him?
He gets paid through whatever they take out from American funds and the people he works for.
It's a company that he works for, and he every once in a while will call and say, you might want to shift this over to there because this fund hasn't been doing as well, and he listens to our level of risk so that we're comfortable.
Okay, all right, and which is the money that he is actually managing?
That IRA,
the 403Bs.
Yeah.
But they're still labeled as 403Bs. They're not labeled as IRAs.
Mm-hmm. No, they're called 403B. It has to do with the teacher
thing.
What
does it say on the paper?
The teacher, I don't know.
That's interesting. The reason why I think that's interesting is that, which is fine. It's not like a terrible thing or anything. But usually these folks want to roll over their 403Bs into IRAs. But the fact that he hasn't is fine. Mm-hmm. So, look, so that's one just quick idea. You can talk about it with him since he's managing it. You can say, hey, why not roll over the 403B into an IRA, at least for me, and then we can do the qualified charitable distribution from the IRA, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Now, the only other thing that I can tell you guys is that, I know that you started the conversation about an age difference, but you got plenty of money. You have, $1 million, more than $1 million. You don't spend a lot of money. And so, even if either of you predeceased the other, I don't think that there's anything that there should be any financial concerns. You just don't spend a lot. And so here's a situation where we have two teachers, or guidance counselors who have done an amazing job of saving and investing, never made a ton of money, keep working. All of these things argue for great success in your lives. And you've done an amazing job. I'm not going to tell you to spend more money if you don't want to spend more money. But what I will tell you is, Lynn and Emily, you've got nothing to worry about. Really, literally nothing. So, is there anything else that we can do to alleviate that sort of low? I know it's not heightened anxiety,
but a little bit of anxiety. I think we would like to be able more to throw caution to the wind and embrace the unknown a little bit. We did just buy a camper van with one of our sections of money.
Well, it's a van and we're having it.
It's being built.
Yeah.
And we're thinking we're going to go somewhere, but not far.
No.
Yeah.
Just to a beach, maybe.
Their big trip, Mark. They're going to go from Vermont. They're going to go Vermont to New Hampshire. Let's see how we do. Let's go one state at a time. You can feel free. You've got plenty of money. You've got plenty of liquidity. There's nothing that
things happen. I think Emily's more worried about is Social Security going to be there in another year or two?
Yes,
or are they going to take our stuff away?
It is.
Take our marriage away?
No, well, that's a whole different question.
It is a whole biggie.
But that's an interesting thing because one of the reasons I think that I got married very late to my betrothed, Miss Jackie, is that there was this sense of oh, we can't be so blasé. You can't just get married whenever you want. Get married.
Right.
And so the good news is that even when we're nervous about those issues, I think when I talk to a lot of people who do this for a living, who are lawyers, and they say it's very unlikely that even if marriage were struck down, that they would be able to then go back and say, we're invalidating your marriage. So that's one thing you don't have to worry about, that you're married already. You're good. The other thing about Social Security that I can point out to you is that, look, Social Security is not going broke. Social Security has a little bit of a mathematics problem, but it is there's no doubt in my mind that at your age 67, which is your full retirement age, or if you wait till 70, there will be something there. It's going to change for lots of people. It's worse for the younger people. Maybe the program won't be as good, or maybe taxes will rise to pay for it. But there's really no indication that I have from anyone who really studies this issue that Social Security is going away. It's just not. Have you guys have your estate documents done, everything all tidied up?
Well, it's some of it's done, and there's a couple of things we need to do. But because we didn't have the automatic marriage thing before, there were things that we took care of anyway.
Okay, good.
Which is a good idea. But my question for you, if I can squeeze out one more minute, is I am now 60. I know I can touch my 403B at 59 and a half, but there's taxes, and I know that. And I'm also looking at Social Security, and you answered my question that we, 99.9% sure that it's going to be around for a while. Mm-hmm. But I also will be doing my own yellow legal pad amortization chart and looking at, do I do I let some Social Security, start collecting it earlier and let it accumulate and make my own investments? And when I find out that the bank is offering 4.5% or 5%, to tie it up for a few years, I will do that. But I still feel more secure with something in my name instead of the government. Do you know what I mean?
Yes and no. So
she said no at first.
No, I said yes and no. I understand what you mean, but the numbers, as long as you are healthy and because you have assets, what I would say is the way I would think about, if I'm 60 years old and my mate is 75, is that, I have plenty of money. I will be able to float 3 years until age 70. And then there's a much more significant bump in a guaranteed increase in my Social Security by waiting, by delaying. So as long as you're in good health, I am a claim at 70 kind of person. If you'd like to join us, just go to JillOnMoney.com and click the Contact Us button. We'll be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, the program that's trying to help you make better financial decisions. If you need some guidance, just go to our website, JillOnMoney.com, and click the Contact Us button. Don't forget to sign up for the free weekly newsletter while you're there. Right now, let's talk to Julia, who is a listener from New York City. Julia, I feel like we could just be having coffee. Just think of that. I'm on the Upper West Side. Where are you right now?
I'm in Midtown.
So we could have just met like in Columbus Circle and just had coffee and done the same thing. But instead, we're talking to you. Welcome to the program. What can we do for you today?
Well, Jill, I have been a huge fan of yours and Mark. And Saturday morning, my husband and I have coffee and we listen to you. And we are actually in the middle of a debate. So we wanted to seek out yours and Mark's guidance because my husband is retired. I'm still working. I'll be retiring in a few years. And we have our retirement home that's in North Carolina. But we have been renting an expensive apartment in the city because that's where I work. Mm-hmm. And I think that when the lease is up, I would like to invest in a condo and purchase that.
Here in New York, here in the city.
In New Jersey, actually.
Whatever. I won't hold it against you.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. No shade to New Jersey, everyone. Okay, wait a second. Your husband, let's go back in time. So I get it. I already have I understand kind of where we are. But I need a couple of facts. Julia, how old are you?
I'm 62.
Okay. How old is your husband?
He is 71.
Okay. You're still working. How much longer do you want to work?
Well, I should probably work until I'm 70, but I don't think I want to.
Why should you?
I don't think I have enough money saved.
Oh, okay. So now we got two different things. One is, what do we do about the New York City living? And then the other is, do we actually have enough money to retire? Those Correct. Are two different. Okay. So this is all going to get intertwined. So let's start with, how much are you earning right now?
$200,000.
All right. Does your husband receive Social Security or a pension or both?
He receives Social Security.
How much?
$45,000.
Okay. So you guys earn $245,000 together. Any rental property or is the home in North Carolina, is that rented out while you're in New York, or do you use it?
No, we use it.
How is your cash flow on the $245,000? You're paying big rent in New York. What's the rent amount?
$4,000.
Not bad. What do you live in, a shoebox?
Yes, I live in a shoebox.
Okay, very nice. If you wanted to continue renting, are you facing a large increase in rent, or could you kind of hold the line at $4,000 or $5,000?
So I think if I looked at some of the properties that I'm interested in, mm-hmm. it would be the monthly rental, including taxes and condo fees, mm-hmm. would be my budget. I think we could afford $5,000.
Okay, so you can do $5,000 a month. And if you had to buy that condo in New Jersey, Do you see how my voice went down? New Jersey. What would it cost you to buy that condo?
The price range I'm looking for is between $500,000 and $600,000.
And do you have kids?
Yes, I have 2 adult children, and they're both launched.
Okay. And there's no thought of like, I'm going to buy this condo and one of my kids is going to move into it?
No, but I think I would like to buy it because I'm thinking that eventually maybe one of them might want it or to leave it to them and my husband is more of the opinion. It's not, my husband doesn't have children. This is a second marriage for both of us. Mm-hmm. So they're my kids. And so I think more of in terms of what I can leave for them. And
also because you're a mother.
Yeah. And he's more of like, well, whatever's left they can have.
You're right. I like that he has no kids, a little bit cleaner. How much is the house in North Carolina worth?
About $500,000.
Paid for? Mortgage? What do you got?
No mortgage. We bought the house about 3 years ago, and I have a $300,000 mortgage at 3.225%.
So that's very affordable, I imagine, right?
Very affordable.
Okay. So you kind of like, oh, couldn't we do that here? Except that mortgage rates have doubled. Are you still putting money into a retirement account on your $200,000 income or not?
Yes, I do. I max out my account, and it's also my firm makes a contribution as well.
Okay, so it's 401k?
Yes.
Okay. And when you say max out, you mean with the over 50, like the extra 7,500, right?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. How's your cash flow on the 200, maxing out the retirement account and your husband's Social Security with 2 places? How is the cash flow right now?
I'm still able to save money. I mean, we don't, the only thing I indulge in is I like to travel. And so, but I try to always like plan my trips and budget for them. We have no debt other than a car payment. We don't have credit card debt or anything like that.
Okay.
We live a comfortable lifestyle.
Okay. Let's talk about the savings and see if this idea of purchasing a condo makes sense, and then also weave in what your hope is around retirement. So how much money do you have in the 401k?
So I have $600,000 in my 401k, and my husband has $500,000 in his.
These are both pre-tax 401ks, right?
Right. In addition to that, I only have $25,000 in a Roth, and my husband has about $93,000 in a Roth.
Okay, 93. Okay, great. And do you guys have money in a brokerage account additionally?
Yeah, but it's not my husband has a brokerage account, but it's not a lot of money. It's maybe like $10,000.
Is that his fun money account?
That's a fun money account, yeah.
Okay. How about money that's in the bank? Safe stuff, like if all of a sudden you're like, I can't work anymore. I need a safety net. What's in the bank?
About $105,000 in savings.
Okay. So if I'm looking ahead, let's look at 2 different ideas. Okay. If I said, okay, Julia, at age 67, you retire. Okay. What's the Social Security benefit that you would get at your full retirement age? Do you know that number?
Yes, I think it's about $3,300.
Okay. And what's at age 70? What does it look like?
$4,300.
Do you hate work or do you like work? For real? No, notice how I only gave you 2 choices, which is not nice. I'm going to say this. Work, 0 to 10. 0's, oh my God, if I could retire tomorrow, I would. 10 is like, you know what? I'm really happy. I could work till I'm 70, no sweat. So give me the
6.5.
Okay. We'll get back to Julia in just a moment. If you've got a question, it's so easy, just a few clicks away. Go to JillOnMoney.com and click that Contact Us button. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger takes the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, the program that tries to help you make better financial decisions. We do that by having you go to our website, JillOnMoney.com. Let's get back to Julia from New York. What happens? Let's talk about this. So if you retire, then you no longer need a New York residence. Is that right?
Well, that's the whole issue I think that we're facing is because we've had our home in North Carolina for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
We go down for the holidays and long weekends, and we really enjoy it. It's very peaceful. It's very quiet.
Yeah, bored.
But I think, oh my God, if I was down here all the time, I would go insane. And then when we have the weekends in New York, we love New York.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just absolutely love it. We love our lifestyle. We're just super happy here. There's a million things to do. So we always say, wouldn't it be great if we would have saved more money and we could have just done both?
Mm. Well, I don't know how much money you guys both made throughout your lives. I mean, you had to raise 2 kids, and whatever he did. But I'm just saying that, you can maybe do both. I'm not sure you need to own to do both. If we look at your expenses right now, renting, okay,
Mm-hmm.
doing rent, your mortgage, living your life, having your fun. What's the monthly expense that you're looking at?
So right now we are, let's see, 4,000 and 3,000, 7,000. I would say about $9,000 a month.
I'll say 10 just because I can.
Okay.
If we have you work for 5 more years, Mark, get your calculator out. So I'm going to look at 5 more years. And Mark, we've got 1.1 pre-tax. And then we have like another 110 in, let's say 110 in Roth. Okay. And do for 5 more years and tell me how much money I have in 5 years for Julia and her husband in kind of like the general investment accounts that are pegged to retirement. Because I really don't want to worry about the bank account. I want to keep that safe.
And contributing how much every year? Max
$30,500 for the next 5 years. See, the one thing that I'm interested in here is the reason why I'm reluctant to do the condo as you lay this out, Julia, is that I feel like that's sort of like we can buy your weekends here. You can have fun. You can do that, and you can do the back and forth. And I'm not so sure that we need to pull a whole chunk because you don't have money in brokerage that's waiting for you. Right. So
Right.
You would have to pull the money out, pay tax on it, lose that money. I don't think that's worth it to you. So I don't think that's the smartest decision. There's like another way to think about it, which is, well, maybe what we do is we flip it. We buy something in New York and we sell North Carolina. We sell that. We buy in New York. Eventually, not this second, and we flip it around and rent in North Carolina because the rent in North Carolina would be much cheaper. But I don't even think that's worth it. I love that low mortgage rate. So, Mark, what's my number?
About 1.8.
All right. So let's say we got 1.8. We got 40. They'll have 85 grand in taxable income for Social Security. 85 grand. So we got to start pulling money out of your husband's account in 4 years. So that's going to be the minimum required distributions might do it. I mean, I think you're pretty close. I think it can work at 67. It kind of depends on like where the market is. I'll tell you what I think. You're not buying a condo in New York or New Jersey. Just keep renting. Just keep renting. There's no incentive to do that. There's really not, like, I don't see, like, the real estate market is popped. Your rent is affordable right now. There's absolutely no, like, you can do what you want to do. And as far as, your husband, it's the marital debate is as follows. You probably don't have to work until you're 70, but the numbers work better if you do. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you're really like, you know what, I want to have more money for my kids. One way to do that is to put in the extra 3 years, get a higher, because by doing that, there's 2 things that happens. One, you don't dip into your savings as early, right? You're not dipping into the money that you've accumulated. And 2, you are continuing to contribute. So you're building up your net worth by working those 3 years. But if you're like, if all of a sudden it's like not a 6.5, you get to age 67, you're like, you know what? It's like a 3, then you can be done. And it's just that, the money that you make, the extra money from Social Security, that extra 8% a year, it does really help, right? Because you can see the difference, like $11,000 or $12,000, right, in a year. And that adds up the longer you live, it's like, wow, that really works. But what does not work is buying something and using the money in your retirement accounts to do so. Absolutely does not work.
I think I secretly knew that, but I was just like having, like, oh, wouldn't it be great? Like, I'm also old school, and, I read your, The Great Money Reset, and I want to read it. But I think it's like, I've always felt like renting is wasting money.
It's really not. I mean, in this case, it's like, it's really not. It's so funny. I remember having this conversation. My uncle left New York. He moved to Southern California, and I ran some numbers for him. And he owned an apartment in New York City. And I said to him, do you know how much money in hotels that you could actually, like, you forgetting about that, like, he isn't rent here. He comes and stays in a nice hotel during opera season and goes to the opera a lot. Like, that's what he does. It's so much better to have his money, and you have access to your money, and you have use of your money. Now, look, it could be that 5 years from now, you say to me, you know what? We're done with North Carolina. It's a complete snooze fest. And it's nice for the weekends, but we ain't staying here. And, I'm going to say this, like, one thing I will say about New York is that living in New York is a great place to age, but you got to have money to do it. But it's so easy. It's the Jill on Money Show, and we'll be right back. You're back. It's the Jill on Money Show. And before we conclude the program, just a few reminders. All of the information that we talk about is usually living on our website at jillonmoney.com. We've got a blog. We've got resources. We have links to everything that you could ever want. Well, maybe not ever. But if you've got a suggestion, don't forget to give us a holler. Let us know. And if you'd like to join us on the program, just click the Contact Us button, write us a note. We'll read it as an email, or we'll bring you on the show live if you check that box. This note is from Deb, who writes, we're looking for a good company to manage my daughter's $100,000 account without paying high fees. Does such a place exist? Well, Deb, I've got great news. Many of those places exist. If your daughter does not want to manage the account herself, which is obviously the cheapest way of doing it, that you would open up an account at one of the big companies like Fidelity or Vanguard or Charles Schwab or T. Rowe Price or E-Trade, any of those places will offer low-cost index mutual funds or exchange-traded funds. But if she doesn't want to do it herself, what is available is something called a robo-advisor, or an automatic investment platform. So when you use a robo, or when she uses a robo, you are prompted to answer a bunch of different kinds of questions. And with the output of those questions, an algorithm will do the work of managing the investments consistent with your time horizon and your risk tolerance. Now, the cost of most of these robos, it's usually under 0.25 percentage point annually. And that is a heck of a lot better than the 1 or 1.5 or maybe even 2% that full service brokerage firms charge. So I encourage you and encourage her to check those out. You can read it a little bit more under the blog section of the website at jillonmoney.com. And the blog post is called Should You Fire Your Advisor? I hope that helps. And okay, that is it. That is the program. Our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talercio is our executive producer and the king of all things web. All of our content lives at jillonmoney.com. Please try to lift someone up, change your work, change your wealth, change your life. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.